Greetings and welcome to the second week of the course Outcome-Based Education and Accreditation. Our present unit is concerned with outcomes of engineering programs. In the first week, we understood what outcome-based education is. And in this particular unit, we will try to understand the nature and importance of outcomes of engineering programs. What you need to convince yourself and internalize is that you have to look at engineering program as a total program, not just focus only on one course. So, at the end of the program, the graduates will have to acquire certain abilities which are, first of all, employable. And to that extent, we have to define what exactly a student should be able to do at the end of a program. So, for faculty also, the focus cannot be just on the course alone. How the course is related to others and how all the courses together will facilitate the students to acquire some stated outcomes. So, in this unit, we will try to focus on what those outcomes are, how they come into being. Now, again to show the diagram, the thing is, in OBE-NBA framework, you start with the vision of the institute. Every institute is not the same. Each institute can have its own vision depending on where it wants to focus, where it wants to spend more time, more resources, or how do they want to place themselves in the overall context of employment and so on. So, you start with the vision of an institute. To achieve that vision, you have some mission. So, you want to do a series of things to go in the direction of your vision. And each department has to be in alignment with the vision and mission of the institute. So, in that context, the department will also have a vision and a mission of its own, which will be discipline specific also. But these vision and mission of the department cannot be at variance with the vision and mission of the institute. Then what happens? It leads to what we call program educational objectives, which we will explain presently. And this is decided by who decides that? There has to be a particular committee that needs to be constituted. You may call it by any name, Board of Studies or what do you call Department Advisory Committee or some kind of academic council or whatever you want to call it. They interact with the outside world, other stakeholders, and decide what these program educational objectives are. And in turn, it also identifies what we call as program specific outcomes, which again we will elaborate. In addition to that, at the same level, National Board of Accreditation also identifies what we call as program outcomes. These two together, program outcomes and program specific outcomes, together decide the curriculum. You don't decide what courses you want to teach and then go upwards. You have to be very clear about program education, program outcomes and program specific outcomes. And the curriculum will consist of several curricular components, and majority of them consists of a series of courses with which you are all familiar. And the courses are described in terms of course outcomes. So now you can see the outcomes of any BE program will have these four: program educational objectives, program outcomes, program specific outcomes, and course outcomes. Now these are at three different levels. Now let us briefly explain what these outcomes are. Program educational objectives, we call in short PEOs. PEOs are broad statements that describe the career and professional accomplishments of the graduates in 4 to 5 years after graduation. What does it mean? You are spending 4 years in training your students. Whatever way you want to train, you want them to work in the same area. If they change completely from what they have been taught, then the entire program is worthless. So, how do we check that they are, whatever they are working, in whatever position they are doing something for which they are trained. So, we say by the time they reach about 4 years after graduation, they should be doing something. What are the things they should be doing is what is described by program educational objectives. Okay. We will elaborate and give examples of that. Program outcomes and program specific outcomes. POs or program outcomes are statements that describe what the student should be able to do at the time of graduation from an engineering program. It doesn't matter what engineering discipline you are graduating from, he must have, or he or she must have, certain common characteristics. We need to understand they are becoming engineers. What are the things engineers should be able to do irrespective of the discipline? They are stated by as POs, but these POs are decided or given by the National Board of Accreditation. Neither the department or the institute have any choice on that. Whereas PSOs, program specific outcomes, are statements that describe what the graduate of a specific engineering program should be able to do at the time of graduation from the engineering program. If he is graduating from, let us say, ECE discipline, he is getting a degree BE ECE. So, with respect to ECE program, he will have some goals. That is, he is doing some electronics, he is doing in communication, what kind of knowledge and skill set he should have from electronics part as well as from communication part. The choice of that is all that is decided by the curriculum designers. Okay. And then course outcomes are, they are statements that describe what the student should be able to do at the end of a course. Just at the end of the semester, what are the things they should be able to do are stated through course outcomes. Now, we will start with program educational objectives, or what the graduates of a program are expected to achieve within 4 to 5 years of completing the program. And PEOs must be small in number, 3 to 5. You cannot write too many of them either. So, maximum you can write 5, 3 to 5 you write, and must be attainable. That means if the students are not really meeting that requirement, for example, if you say all students should be able to build a company which can be what you call some unicorn. By 5 years, my graduates will build unicorns. You cannot take that position because it may not be possible. So, you have to write them in a way that they must be attainable. Writing PEOs also must follow an established process. It is not that somebody just at the department sits down and writes some 3 to 5 statements and they don't constitute PEOs. And there is a requirement which we will elaborate later at the time of when we look at NBA accreditation, that they must follow a certain process. Process means some committee should do it, and there should be a method by which the committee members are selected, and how many times they should meet, whether they are recording their minutes or not, and how do they get approved. All that they have to follow a process. And also PEOs must follow from the mission of the department offering the program. That means mission statements, you may write 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 mission statements. From the mission statements and PEO should be in alignment with one another. And how to do that, again we will elaborate on when we come to NBA accreditation. The alignment of PEOs with the mission statements is to be demonstrated through what is called mission PEO matrix as required by the NBA. SAR is self assessment report. Now, we will give some samples of PEOs. It doesn't mean that they are mandatory to write exactly like this. These are written by in our various workshops by faculties of different departments. For example, in the case of mechanical engineering, PEO1 engage in the design of systems, tools, applications in the field of mechanical engineering and allied engineering industries. What does it mean? The person is likely to be involved in design or work with the tools and also apply them in the field of mechanical engineering, but either directly in mechanical industries or allied industries, because many industries will also require non-mechanical ones will require a lot of mechanical elements in that. So, is he involved in using anything in that? It doesn't mean that you have to prove that he is working in all these areas. A subset of this at least is involved. Apply the knowledge of mechanical engineering to solve problems of social relevance and pursue higher education and research. Once again, it clubs several activities of which the student should be either if he is proceeding to higher education, he has met the PEO. If he is working in the area of solving some problems of social relevance, yes. If he is not going to higher education, he is meeting. So, if he is meeting a subset of this, then he met the PEO. Work effectively as individuals and as team members in a multidisciplinary projects. Is he working all by himself? No, not satisfactory. He is always member of a team. Okay, and is effectively a good team member. Engage in lifelong learning, career enhancement and adapt to changing professional and social needs. As you know, things are changing very fast in every branch. So, is he continuously upgrading himself so that his knowledge and skill set do not become outdated, and he is continuously growing in his career. Okay. As I said, these are some representative statements. He can modify individual statements, he can completely throw it away, but the finally 3 to 5 statements that the department prepares as PEOs should be done following a systematic process. I will just quickly read through another sample, a BE program, Electrical and Electronic Engineering. PEO1 engage in designing, manufacturing, testing, operating and maintaining systems in the field of electrical, electronics engineering and allied engineering industries. It is a very vast one, both electrical and electronic one, and he is involved in some aspect of that, either designing, manufacturing, testing or operating. Solve problems of social relevance applying the knowledge of electrical and electronics engineering and or pursue higher education and research. Work effectively as individuals and as team members in multidisciplinary projects. Engage in lifelong learning, career enhancement, and adapt to changing professional and social needs. Okay, so those are the PEOs. We will talk about PEO mission matrix at the time of dealing with NBA accreditation. Now, we have to operate within the NBA framework. But many decisions about various aspects have been taken by the National Board of Accreditation to be completely in alignment with Washington Accord. So, we have already explained what Washington Accord is, and now we get into some specifics. Washington Accord and graduate attributes. Washington Accord identifies graduate attributes which are a set of individually accessible outcomes that are the components indicative of the engineering graduate's potential to acquire competence to practice at the appropriate level. The language may look a little alien to us, but it is nothing but what are the things the graduate of any engineering program should be able to do. They are called graduate attributes by Washington Accord. So, what happened is the National Board of Accreditation decided to not use the word graduate attribute. They mapped it as or labeled it as program outcomes. So, program outcomes are nothing but graduate attributes as stated by the Washington Accord. Further, what happened is in the earlier version of program outcomes of NBA in 2015, there were some minor variations with graduate attributes. Now, the NBA decided to make it exactly the same number, same wording, exactly in the same way they are stated. Now, Washington Accord uses the word knowledge attitude profile. Okay, knowledge profile means the broad characteristics of the different components of knowledge embodied in a program. See, you can have various knowledge elements. At what level of detail are you dealing with? What are all the knowledge elements that you cannot just have one single vague title and say pick 2 or 3 concepts and say that I have taken care of. So, one has to very clearly state all the knowledge elements that you are dealing with, what a student has to master. That is what is called knowledge profile. Aligning the knowledge and attitude profile to graduate attributes ensures that engineering graduates are not only technically competent but also demonstrate the professionalism and ethical standards expected by the global engineering community. Okay, knowledge and attitude profile, they are somehow labeled as WK. Okay, K represents knowledge and possibly WK is Washington Accord. So, they have defined these things. We just have to accept them as they are because the NBA also has accepted as they are. WK1, a systematic theory-based understanding of the natural sciences applicable to the discipline and awareness of relevant social sciences. Okay, so here it is theory-based understanding of natural sciences with a kind of an adjective added related to what extent they are relevant to the social sciences as well. And then conceptually based mathematics, numerical analysis, data analysis, statistics, and formal aspects of computer and information sciences to support detailed analysis and modeling applicable to the discipline. You are not doing this everything in every course, but the whole program will have to meet that. So, for example, is WK2, is it in what courses is it addressed? To what extent it is addressed? If somebody asks a question, one should be able to demonstrate. These are the courses that actually look at, let's say, either numerical analysis or data analysis or statistics and so on. WK3, a systematic theory-based formulation of engineering fundamentals required in the engineering discipline. WK4, engineering specialist knowledge that provide theoretical framework and bodies of knowledge for the accepted practice areas in the engineering discipline. Much is at the forefront of the discipline. What it means is, you are talking of engineering sciences and also engineering sciences that are relevant today. Like if you take electronics discipline, the electronics is a field that changes so very fast, even 3-4 years already you are getting outdated or sometimes become irrelevant. So, you have to focus on, it is not that the knowledge is irrelevant, knowledge is relevant in some other context, but with regard to your branch, what is relevant cannot be ignored. Okay, so somebody will have to make that decision. What is more important and what is less important? Because we tend to keep very old things in the curriculum, saying that they are important. Somebody makes a decision, it is important. WK5, knowledge including efficient resource use, environmental impacts, whole life cost, reuse of resources, net zero carbon, and similar concepts that supports engineering design and operations in practice area. Okay, we'll keep looking at these aspects more and more when we move on to PEOs. Knowledge of engineering practice, technology in the practice areas in the engineering discipline. Knowledge of the role of engineering in society and identified issues in engineering practice in the discipline, such as the professional responsibility of an engineer to public safety and sustainable development. So, these he is only elaborating something. These are all captured in the graduate attributes, but a little more detail is provided in these statements. That's all. WK8, engagement with selected knowledge in the current research literature of the discipline, awareness of the power of critical thinking and creative approaches to evaluate emerging issues. Ethics, inclusive behavior and conduct, knowledge of professional ethics, responsibilities and norms of engineering practice, awareness of the need for diversity by reason of ethnicity, gender, age, physical ability, etc., with mutual understanding and respect and inclusive attitudes. So, these are some elaborations of the elements that are going to actually formally appear in the graduate attribute statements, which are nothing but program outcomes. Now, coming to program outcomes, POs are what graduates of any engineering program should demonstrate at the time of graduation. Now, coming to the Indian context, we are only concerned with NBA. So, NBA uses the words POs instead of graduate attributes, but they are it is only relabeling. So, they are the same as graduate attributes. They are identified by the National Board of Accreditation. The institute level, you have no choice to modify any of them. Whether you like them or not, you may have argument to modify, but you have to live with the 11 statements that are given. They are 11 in number. They are the same as the graduate attributes of Washington Accord. Okay. Now we'll quickly read through, and then in the following units we'll spend a lot of time on each one. There are 11 of them. First one is labeled as engineering knowledge. Apply knowledge of mathematics, natural sciences, computing, engineering fundamentals, and an engineering specialization as specified in WK1 to WK4 respectively to develop to the solution of complex engineering problems. So WK1, WK4, which we have just presented, they are the elaborations of what do you call those engineering fundamentals. PO2, problem analysis. Identify, formulate, review research literature and analyze complex engineering problems, reaching substantiated conclusions with consideration for sustainable development. Again, WK1 to WK4 are to be addressed. Now, this is fairly complex. Please note here there is an activity part. For example, here identify is an activity, identification is an activity, formulate, review research literature and analyze and reach substantiated conclusions. There are 5 different activities which are to be addressed. Okay. PO3, design and development of solutions. Design creative solutions for complex engineering problems and design or develop systems, components, processes to meet identified needs with consideration for the public health and safety, whole life cost, net zero carbon, culture, society and environment as required. Okay. It's a fairly detailed elaboration about designing creative solutions. So you have to be, at the time of graduation, you should be capable of designing creative solutions. PO4, conduct investigations of complex problems. Conduct investigations of complex engineering problems using research-based knowledge, including design of experiments, modeling, analysis, and interpretation of data to provide valid conclusions. PO5, engineering tool usage. Create, select, and apply appropriate techniques, resources, and modern engineering and IT tools, including prediction and modeling, recognizing their limitations to solve complex engineering problems. Up to PO5, you can directly relate to your particular discipline. Whether it is mechanical or electronics, you can directly relate. But now from PO6 to PO11, they are required for any engineer for that matter. Okay. The PO6, engineer and the world. Analyze and evaluate societal and environmental aspects while solving complex engineering problems for its impact on sustainability with reference to economy, health, safety, legal framework, culture and environment. Ethics, apply ethical principles and commit to professional ethics, human values, diversity and inclusion, adhere to national and international laws. We will elaborate in the following units. Individual and collaborative teamwork. Function effectively as an individual and as a member or a leader of diverse multidisciplinary teams. PO9 is communication. Communicate effectively and inclusively within the engineering community and society at large, such as being able to comprehend and write effective reports and design documentation, make effective presentations, considering cultural language and learning differences. It's a tall order. PO 10, project management and finance, apply knowledge and understanding of engineering management principles and economic decision making and apply these to one's own work as a member and leader in a team and to manage projects in multidisciplinary environments. Again, we'll elaborate in the later unit. PO 11, lifelong learning, recognize the need for and have the preparation and ability for independent and lifelong learning, adaptability to new and emerging technologies, and critical thinking in the broadest context of technological change. Now, a little summary. POs of a program are attained predominantly through courses, right? Courses are described and communicated to students and other stakeholders through course outcomes. Knowledge and attitude profile associated with POs will help in writing good COs that incorporate more relevant knowledge elements. That is the link between WKs and POs or GAs, graduate attributes. Now, a little overview of POs. Only 5 of 11 POs are dominantly disciplinary outcomes. You talk about understanding the underlying concepts, the role of basic sciences, engineering sciences, designing, investigations, and so on with respect to your discipline. And the remaining 6 are professional outcomes, also known as generic and transferable outcomes. That is, the 6 represent, doesn't matter in what position you are, you require those knowledge and skills. 3 POs mention complex engineering problems and 2 POs mention complex engineering activities and 2 POs mention contextual knowledge. Okay. So, we will in the next unit, we will look at PO 1 and PO 2 and identify activities that facilitate the attainment of PO 1 and PO 2. Okay, how do you attain these outcomes? I have to identify the courses through which I am trying to do that, and then what are all the activities that I need to plan in those courses so that PO 1 and PO 2 are attained. Thank you for your attention.